everyone, this is CavsHQ Happy Hour presented by Budweiser. It is terrific just to be able to connect with some of you again today. John Michael here with Rafa Hernandez Brito. Rafa, how you hanging in there, buddy? How you been?
I'm doing okay. I forgot to count days. At the beginning, I was going, okay, day 5, day 6. I started to get a little too hard on that, so I'm just going to waking up, getting my workout done, and trying to finish the day and keep on with the next one.
I see with your background, you're treating yourself like royalty by yourself at home. That's nice.
I was trying to put a background that you would relate to, but I'm sure this one way over your head.
You didn't do a very good job if that's what you're trying to do. Hey, I mean, listen, some of our viewers know this, but you got married over All-Star break, and like everything else, your timing has been wonderful, right?
It's been quite a strange trip so far. You know, I was lucky. My girlfriend said yes to me, and we decided to get married over the All-Star break in Miami. And we got married. I spent the next day with her and my parents who came down from California for the wedding. And then I traveled to Washington for the first game after the All-Star break, and then came back to Miami. So I got to see my wife for another lunch date. Then she drove me to the hotel where the team was staying, got on the bus, and I have not seen her since. We were supposed to go on a long road trip, and she was going to come over to Cleveland and work together the Final Four. Of course, everything changed after we got back from Chicago. So I've been married for 52 days now. I've seen my wife a total of 32, 33 hours.
I don't mean to laugh. It's not. It kind of is funny.
It's kind of funny. The other day I was talking with a friend, and he was like, you just started a new trend, like a Rafa-style honeymoon. You get married, and you go on a honeymoon, you go somewhere, and you wife go the other day.
Yeah, let's see if this works. We'll see if it works out. We'll see how fruitful.
All I'm praying for, John, is, and you know, Lily, I'm hoping she doesn't put in place a phone distancing law. Then I'm going to be in a bad spot. I call her probably like 3 or 4 times a day, and we talk on the phone, we talk via Zoom, we talk everything, but I haven't seen her personally since we left Miami. We played that night.
That's crazy. That's great. Well, hang in there. Obviously, it's been such an interesting time, unprecedented time, you know, in terms of what we've been dealing with. You and I were privileged to be a part of the telethon, which raised over $150,000 for right here in Northeast Ohio, that was moving, wasn't it? It was special. It really gives me a sense of pride to be a part of this Cavs organization that top to bottom has done so much to help those in need already, has been out in front of this. And I think that the telethon was a beautiful thing. It all came together, so many resources to do so much good.
You know, for sure, bad situations always tend to get the best out of people. And when you talk about the Cavaliers organization and the NBA as a league, that immediately that day when they decided to call the season off, they put basketball on the back burner and decided to concentrate on the fans. In our case, our team members and the community. And when you mentioned the telethon, and you think about the numbers that in Cleveland, 1 out of 6 people use the Greater Cleveland Food Bank as a form of meals and nutrition. Yeah. And when you think about the situation now, it's very important that everybody comes to help a little bit, and for the Cavs to really get everybody together as our teammates to get behind one cause, which is to help our community, to help our fans. And basically, we come to realize, John, that we're just a big family here. Yeah. There's one time where everybody's going through almost the same thing, maybe different situations at home, but the same situation that we all living through is right now.
Yeah, and I mentioned this on the telethon, but I think it bears repeating. You know, being in that building, it was eerie, wasn't it? I mean, Rafa and I filmed from actually in the field house, and literally there were only about 4 or 5 of us in the building at the time, or at least in the filming area in the atrium where we were. A couple of cameramen, us, everybody keeping their distance. But it always reminds me of 2016, doesn't it, Rafa? I mean, the finals and the Cavs were down, 3-1, and how this city and how this team rallied, and obviously such different circumstances. I mean, sports pale in comparison, the life and death situation that people are facing right now in this state, in this country, in the world. But to see how the team rallied, to see how the Cavs rallied, the community rallied, Rafa, it reminded everyone the way the Cavs came from behind. 32 teams in NBA history have been down 3-1 in the finals. All 32 had failed to come back. Cavs did it. The Cavs became the first. Remember, too, they had to win 2 games at Golden State, where the Warriors had lost only twice all season long in the regular season and the playoffs combined, and they did it. And to me, Rafa, it was almost like the Cavs reminded the world that this is a city full of winners, and a city where the community came together to support this team. And obviously 2 wildly different situations, but it's that kind of community and fight and blue-collar attitude that I think would, right now is essential in this area as we get through these tough, unprecedented times.
And I think the important thing that you mentioned is that what we can get out of sports, which brings everybody together the way it did it for the championship. You and I always talk about that. We were both in the best spot possible, calling the game 7, for the championship. But every time we see the videos of people outside of the old people at home running away from the TVs, I want to be there. I want to be there to my feet on the air. And the parade. So now it's a different situation and a different purpose of why we're coming together. But I think it's great. And I obviously haven't experienced this situation in any other place than here, but I don't think I want to be in any other city the way this city is able to come together. And one of the questions I had is, for the telethon in the opening and in the closing, they had like the Brady Bunch style.
Yeah, all 8 of us, right?
Brady were you? Were you a
Brady
Bunch? Were you? I forget the name. I know Bobby and Greg.
I think I was Jan. No, I don't think they had it in 3x3.
They should have put somebody in the middle and then put you guys on the side just to make it really Brady Bunch style.
Should have like Dan Gilbert or Len Komorowski dead center. Yeah, I think it was Jan. I'm not really sure. We're going to bring on Cavs assistant coach Dan Geriot in a few minutes. Talk to Dan about a number of different things, including what the coaches have been up to, their communication with the players, what the players are currently doing to try to stay ready if and when we get back to playing. But before we bring Dan on, you were talking about sports, isn't it? We know how much sports we watch outside of our jobs, which is a lot. I mean, even for our jobs, we're watching, 1 or 2, on average, Rafa, 1 or 2 NBA games a night to get ready for upcoming games and just to see other teams around the league and for various different purposes. But also, I didn't realize how much other sports I watch. I mean, I miss the Tribe a ton right now, especially this time of the year with this weather outside. I miss baseball every night.
And don't get this wrong. I love basketball and I love what I do for a living, and I don't mind watching 3-4 compressed games on the NBA app to get ready for another opponent. But what I have loved the most, if there's something that I love a lot on this, is most of the sports networks have chosen to show classic games. Right. And like the baseball network, the other day they showed the 1978 Bucky Bleeping Dent game, the playoff game. They show. I remember texting you about the Pirates and the Braves 92 Game 7, and I have loved that part. I watched the Rangers win the championship in 94 again on the NHL Network. So that part has been awesome. But lately I've been watching the Olympic channel.
That's interesting.
And they've been showing highlights of different events. And in Winter Olympic style, I was watching short track speed skating.
Apollo Ono stuff? Short track?
Short track, which is
okay.
Like a crazy roller derby on ice. And I was thinking, how do you become a short track speed skater or a downhill skier when you're a kid? You have to pay attention to those things or what? So my question to you is, if you had a chance to go back to being 8, 7, when I think these kids start falling in love with this thing, what sport would you like to practice for? Or would you think you would be like, I would love to do that?
Winter or just winter?
Winter, just the winter, yeah.
Well, let me answer your question first of all. When you say, how as a kid do you prepare for that? One answer for you is don't grow up in El Salvador. That's the first. I don't know. Maybe you just weren't predisposed to be in the Winter Olympics.
I don't know, but
I'm just throwing that out there.
Stories of like Johan Olaf Kost, one of the greatest speed skaters in the long track.
Right. Traditional.
Netherlands. That's all they do when they're growing up.
Right.
Back home, what we do is play soccer. It's on baseball, but it's not really like the national soccer team went to the World Cup in 1982. They have to pay their own ticket, and they didn't have money for uniform. They only have one uniform, so they told them they couldn't change the shirts after the game until the last game. So, but let's assume I grew up in New York.
If you're asking me Winter Olympics, I've always loved hockey. I mean, before I was in the NBA, I was in the NHL. I'd love to be part of that. What a competition! Hockey is one of my favorite competitions my favorite easily. Not one of my favorites, the favorite for me in the Winter Olympics. I'm trying to think of my skill set. I can't ski. You know what I mean? Like I can't. Maybe I don't know. Just push the bobsled. Be one of the 4-man bobsled. Push it, get down, and.
You'll be the one that gets on backwards, like the Hawaiian.
Let the other guys steer. I'll just run real hard and get down, and that's about all I got.
I would love to be a speed skater, and I know it doesn't look fun to prepare and practice for because it's brutally painful. But for my experience on the bicycle, I have managed to be able to ignore the pain in my quads, in my thighs when I'm pedaling. To just keep going, and that's what they do in the sprinting, and it's just it's painful. It looks painful, but they do it. That's all they do. I would love to do that.
That looks miserable to me. You know what I like though about you, the Olympic channel. You don't know the results. Like the one thing that bothers me about what we've been watching now is that we always know the outcome, which is the best part of sports. That you know what I mean. That you never know what's going to happen. The only live thing that they've been running is horse racing. And my son and I, listen to this, for a while my son and I had been enjoying horse racing because it's live and you don't know what's going to happen, right? At least it's something to watch. And that was going along fine until this is about 2 days ago. The girls were out for a walk, okay? Girls come home, they're like, oh, what are you watching? My 4-year-old blurts out, hey, Mom, Dad and I just hit a 12-1 on the 5th. I was like, oh. That was the end of horse racing instantly.
Mom, we almost hit the trifecta.
Honest to God, I'm like, well, And so there goes horse racing. We haven't been doing that for the last couple of days.
I wish I had company. Right now, to tell you the truth, I've been watching the games and commenting to the birds outside because there's a lot of birds lately outside. I can't even open my windows in my building.
Yeah.
It's a landmark building here in Cleveland, so I can't open the windows. They're sealed for the winter. And so I'm like, the other day I had to go take the garbage out. I didn't even know what to wear. I was so excited getting dressed to go out of my apartment.
Well, to entertain Rafa, who now has been apparently talking to the birds, let's bring in Cavs assistant coach,
right,
who's been kind enough to join us here on CavsHQ Happy Hour presented by Budweiser. And here he is, Cavs assistant coach Dan Geriot. Dan, good to see you. How are you doing? How you holding up, my friend?
Hey, great to see you guys. Good to see some familiar faces. We're doing all right. Really unprecedented, uncharted territories. But trying to stay busy. Routines are always good. JB has been good with that for us. But yeah, I mean, it's a whole different vibe not being, especially this time of year. We're pretty much prepped for a good run and for playing good basketball, but obviously nothing to be played.
At a moment the league came to a stop, then the Cavs were kind of finding their way. The new head coach, the new system, the new vibe was going on. How does the coaching staff try to keep that going during this time where there's basically just video contact but
yeah, I mean, we were really. I do agree, hitting our stride, and guys were growing and we were very competitive. The basketball we were playing. I think a way to keep doing that is to one, keep in contact with them, but then two, still be our authentic selves as coaches, and kind of like show that vulnerability of like, yeah, we're going through it too, and know that we're in this together, because I believe that was one of the reasons we were also hitting our stride and playing better, was as coaches, we were very vulnerable with the team and very personable with them in terms of where we were going and how we saw each individual guy growing. I think we're doing the same thing now. It's just on Zoom.
Yeah, tell us about that, Dan. It is interesting. Even from our perspective, where Rafa and I sit and call games and see things on the road, it did appear that communication was expanding exponentially, was expanding rapidly over the last couple of weeks. What are you doing in terms of staying in touch with the players, staying in touch with the coaches to try to keep connected during these times?
Yeah, I think with the guys, it's about, reaching out, touching, FaceTime, Zoom, text, whatever it may be, even phone calls. And I think the key is almost, well, at least when I do it individually, I'm not making it about basketball.
Right.
I think it's about how we're doing, what we're doing, how we're kind of taking up our time now. Are we mentally healthy? I think that's a big thing for a lot of these players. I mean, they are chomping at the bit to compete at anything. So it's almost like FaceTime and flip a coin, heads or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails.
And with the situation with our team, then obviously most of them, with the exception, I would say, of Larry Nance Jr., are from out of town. And we were talking about with John about how we all going through the same situation, but in different ways. I got stuck here after getting married, and I haven't seen my wife in 51 out of the 52 days I've been married to her. But out of our guys, are there some of them that are alone? Are you guys keeping track of them more, or what's the situation in that?
Yeah, so when it first happened, obviously we wanted them to stay in market because we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. Were we going to be shut down for the weekend or a week, or as it turned out, months, or as it's looking, months. So when we let them and the NBA let them start to go out of market to be at their home with their families, I think we were encouraging them, to do that. And, a couple of them did. Obviously, one, Kevin Love, he lives in New York in the off season. He wasn't going to go there as it being one of the hot spots. So he actually stayed. Alfonso McKinney actually drove to Los Angeles. Yeah. So we got some of those stories. Colin got back home, which was nice. But I think, that was a key relationship piece as well. We're talking to them about how they're feeling, where they want to go, and I think we're giving them advice and letting them know, obviously here is good, and we can do a lot of things for you here. But if you need to go home and be with family, I think this is a really important time to do that, and honestly spend some quality time with your family.
I know that some equipment was delivered to players, based upon what they wanted to get to their house in terms of trying to stay in some semblance of shape. But talk to these guys about, these are guys, obviously, Dan, that are used to having a basketball in their hand, not just every day, but 4 or 5 hours every day. Yeah. And now some of them, unless they have a court in their house or unless they have some kind of access, they're not doing much of anything. In terms of that adjustment, have you had that discussion with players, what they're doing with themselves right now to try to skill-wise at least feel comfortable moving forward day after day?
Yeah. I think my first inclination to them was like, rest your body, like get it right. Like we got a lot of bumps and bruises at the time when we all, we were about to head on that long road trip. We were feeling some bumps and bruises. So that was the first thing. And the second thing, when we delivered some weight equipment and stuff, I have a Peloton, so that's how I stay in shape. They need to run and be outside and have the skill development and all. So they don't get the whole bike idea just yet. So I think it's about, kind of getting in a routine as they would be when they came to pre-shoot around, and then as they pre-game routines and then pre-practice and practice. I think that's the biggest thing we're talking to them about. Their physical abilities is get in a routine, understand that it's not going to be the same, and that's hard to understand. But as we go through this, start checking those boxes as you would when you make 100 threes from the corners, or make the 10 pick and roll reads pre-practice. Now, just like it might be on the bike, it might be a run outside, it could be, the push-ups, sit-ups, the dumbbell training. So it's a little different, but I think we're trying to kind of mold that in terms of like it can look the same mentally in terms of checking the boxes because we could be doing this for a little while.
What about in the case of Dan Geriot? You know, we've been talking about Dan, how we've been watching old sports and how we miss live sports. But in your case, and in the case of the whole coaching staff, you probably spend more time watching future opponents and all the players that you're scouting. So what have you found yourself doing in these times? And what's your situation? Are you in town? You go home? Tell us about it.
Yeah. So we're in Cleveland. My fiance and I were we stayed right away, and she stayed as well. She's originally from San Diego, so she's a trooper for that to stay and understand. You know, she's away from her family, but we and then me being from Philadelphia, away from my family as well. So it was good. We stayed and we're here, and we kind of hunkered down and knew we wanted to be around here and be able to help in any capacity with anything. And yeah, I mean, I think we're watching TV shows. I'm watching the Eagles Super Bowl championship as much as I can.
Have you been watching Tiger King?
I was going to say, so what are the recommendations? You guys have any recommendations for our viewers? What Dan?
We did watch Tiger King, although entertaining. I'm not hugely recommending that. Entertaining as could be.
Thank you.
But probably could have been 4 episodes, not 7. What else did we watched Hunters, which is pretty good, Al Pacino on Amazon Prime.
What's that?
So that is about Jewish individuals in New York City, and they hunt the Nazi, basically soldiers that came to America after World War II, and it's great. It's a great deal. I think they okayed the 2nd season, so I think it's going to be a good one. Pacino's hysterical, and I think it's good. You know, I think he does a great job. So it's been good. We watched that. We watched the Ozarks on Netflix. We're into that. Jason Bateman, really, really good. So we're just trying.
I know that's popular. What is that? Tell me. I know I'm behind the curve a little bit because it's a pretty popular series. But that's about what?
So Ozarks is about a family that basically is like involved. He gets involved with his business in Chicago with the Chicago mob. They get in trouble there. They have to flee away. They go to the Ozarks, which is in Missouri, and they go, and it's on the water. It's a destination place, and the mob kind of follows them there, and then they get involved with like Mexican drug cartels because they're running a lot of stuff through there. And Bateman's great. He's really dry sense of humor. And with everything going on, it's really funny to get his humor through that. So I highly recommend it. There's 3 seasons now, so that's been good. Yeah, we like that.
I watched Doug Holliday throw a no-hitter or a perfect game that he threw.
No-hitter.
For the Phillies.
Game one, no-hitter.
Showing all games, and they show that one. And
Yeah, no, it's interesting to watch the old sports games. You know, I was just flipping through the other day, saw Cal Ripken's game when he was the Iron Man. That was cool. You know, I was young when that happened, so I didn't really remember all that. So that was great. Obviously, anything with the Eagles winning is good for me. The Phillies years were great. Obviously, 2008. You know, when that's on, I'll watch some of that. But you know, the hard part is the outcomes of the games.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Takes away some drama.
Right.
Watch the Olympic Channel. You don't remember who won the alpine skiing.
That's a good point. Good point. So,
all right. How about this? Before we let you go, what eating wise? Have you guys been enjoying any? Do you have any restaurant recommendations? You've been takeout that you've been utilizing during this time.
Yeah. I mean, we've done the whole takeout Tuesday thing and stuff. So I think that's a good thing.
Right.
You know, obviously, around here because we live in Tremont, so we're trying to help around here. But and then we did Town Hall. We've done on one of our favorites downtown is the Hanabi Sushi. So we did a little bit of that. But yeah, just trying. And then we're cooking a lot, which is unusual for me. But I'm in there. I'm doing it.
Oh, very nice.
I'm trying to do it. Yeah. So we're maintaining. I think we try and plan it out as best we can, but that part is interesting night in, night out. You got to kind of come up with different ideas and things to keep you going.
Yeah. Rafa, what do you got? Out here, Rocky River Brewing Company has been terrific. That's been our Friday.
On Fridays, I usually good. If I remember there is Lent Friday, I won't eat meat or chicken. I gotta go find fish. And our place that we usually go in Fatheads is closed. So
I know.
I recommended the brewing company. And
Yeah.
then, I had on Tuesdays, I always support my friend Juan at Barrocos. He always prepares really good meals there. So it's been good. And I've been lucky that my mom has been shipping me meals from Sacramento. So
nice.
I have a pretty good.
What's my mom doing?
It's just that
She stinks. God.
it's just that sometimes the birds don't talk back to me. So
Your birds don't talk back either. Mine either.
No.
Birds and the squirrels.
In Castaway, I've been talking to every little piece of item that I have here in my living room.
Well, believe me, the kids do talk back, so maybe remember that. Hey, Danny, thanks so much for joining us. Like I said, it's great just to see you. It's great that we get to connect with our viewers, with everybody else. I think it's really important. I mean, we talked about this earlier, but sports, of course, pales in comparison to the situation that so many find themselves in. But if we can provide a little bit of normalcy, maybe a little bit of joy, maybe a smile or two at these times, I think it's huge. Thank you for being a part of this with us. If you have any message for our fans, for our viewers about, not maybe the Cavs on one hand, and maybe also what we're dealing with right now, what would that be?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I think this kind of stuff is huge for the mentality. And I think our biggest message really is to stay positive and honestly stay with it. I think we use that term a lot with our team and our guys, but stay with it. We all understand it's tough situations right now, but if you can continue to do that, when we come out on the other side of this thing, we're going to be a more positive and probably a more caring culture. I think that's something that can go a long way. And the one thing we didn't mention, but if you need some old sports to watch, finals from 2016 is okay. So check that one out.
Right. That was Dan's first season. Fox Sports Ohio. All next week is airing, I believe, all 7 games.
Wow.
Watch 5, 6, and 7.
What's that? Yeah, I'll tell you which ones we're gonna win if you want to pick the right ones. But hey, Dan, great stuff. Really appreciate it. Final thoughts.
Just big thank you to everybody. Thank you to you. And I don't know, man. We just Zoom me every now and then so I can see other people. Talk back to me.
Bro, I do mean it. I'm sorry I keep laughing at the situation. Poor Rafa got married right before this took place. His wife's in Florida. He's stuck here. He's talking to the birds. So I apologize.
Seriously, on a serious note, when we get out of this, because we will make it through this, I think it's very important for everybody to realize the work that the doctors, the nurses, all the health workers, the police, the firemen, the truckers, the people working at the grocery stores, the work they have done, the sacrifice they have done, because some of us are complaining about being at home with our families. Yeah. These people have left their families and literally put them at risk to make sure that some form of functioning in the city continues. So I think it's a big thanks to them, and I don't think we'll ever take for granted what these people do day in and day out.
I couldn't agree more. And let's think too. Not only are they out there saving lives on the front lines, but they're saving the rest of us and helping the rest of us by preventing all of this from taking over and spreading it. It's just some of the shots of the people in the hospitals wearing the safety goggles where they're getting the bruises around their head. You are the true heroes. And also, like you said, Rafa, those who don't have the luxury of being able to stay home, that have to continue working. Thank you for all of your efforts and all that you've done. Special stuff. Hey, Danny, thanks for Dan. Rafa, this is John. Thanks everyone for joining us. CavsHQ Happy Hour, presented by Budweiser. We'll see you again.
And if we ever lose our way, remember who we are too.